This Saturday, under the iconic Wembley Arch, two sides collide in the 144th FA Cup final. For Manchester City, it's a chance to salvage silverware from a challenging season and claim their 8th FA Cup title. For Crystal Palace, it's an opportunity to make history by securing their first major trophy in 120 years. So in this video, we're going to take a look at both Manchester City and Crystal Palace ahead of tomorrow's game and sort of share my thoughts as to who I think is going to win the FA Cup final this year. We are probably going to stream the FA Cup final tomorrow as well, so make sure you stay tuned for all our live streams across X, Twitch and YouTube. Make sure you check them out. It's going to be amazing. We'll have some really good discussions. We'll have a nice laugh whilst we watch the FA Cup final. And if you didn't realise, 95% of you haven't subscribed to the channel. So it doesn't matter if you think City or Palace is going to win the FA Cup. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss another video, because trust me, we've got some epic content coming over the close season. And for now, guys, let's zoom into the video. So before we take a look into this year's final, we have to take a look back at the very first final. The inaugural FA Cup took place back in 1871-72, with Wanderers FC defeating Royal Engineers 1-0 in the final, held at Kennington Oval. Over the years, the FA Cup has seen several format adjustments, notably this year with replays abolished from the first round onward to alleviate fixture congestion, marking a significant shift in the tournament's tradition. While Wembley Stadium has traditionally hosted the final, renovations between 2001 and 2006 led to the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff serving as a temporary venue. Now, this competition is the most historic in the country and has been known to host some unforgettable moments across many generations. The famous 4-3 victory for Blackpool over Bolton Wanderers is celebrated for the exceptional performance of Stanley Matthews, securing his first major trophy in 1953. Wimbledon's 1-0 win against Liverpool back in 1988 remains one of the biggest shocks in FA Cup history, as the Crazy Gang reigned supreme that year. And Steven Gerrard's last-minute equaliser for Liverpool against West Ham led to a penalty shootout victory in a final often dubbed the Gerrard final back in 2006. And who could forget one of the greatest goals in FA Cup history from Hereford United's Ronnie Radford.
Radford again. Oh, what a goal! What a goal! Radford the scorer!
Now, this year's final has major implications for European qualification. If Crystal Palace win the FA Cup, they would secure a spot in the UEFA Europa League phase for the 25-26 season, which would mark their first major trophy and historic entry into European competition. If Manchester City win the FA Cup, the Europa League spot typically awarded to the FA Cup winner would be transferred to the next highest ranked Premier League team not already qualified for European competition. And as it stands whilst we're recording this video, it would be Brentford going into the Europa Conference League if Palace was to win the trophy. However, Brighton, Bournemouth and Fulham still have hope of finishing in that position also. But if you're a Brighton fan, I'm pretty sure you don't want Palace winning any silverware. So let's have a deep dive into both clubs in this year's final, starting with the underdogs, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace Football Club under manager Olivier Glasner has reached their third FA Cup final, having previously lost in 1919 and 2016, and their journey to the final has been marked by impressive performances. They defeated League One playoff semi-finalist losers Stockport County 1-0 in round 3, before travelling to Doncaster in round 4, beating Rovers 2-0. Yep, that result will stay with me for quite a while, I think. I've still not got over the pain of that result, thank you very much. They overcame Millwall 3-1 in the 5th round before a quarter-final victory over Fulham and a semi-final victory against Aston Villa. Key players like Eberechi Eze have been instrumental, with him contributing significantly in both goals and assists throughout the season across all competitions. For me, I feel like Olivier Glasner has been a fantastic appointment and will be judged significantly, especially if he wins a trophy this season. And I feel like Crystal Palace has had a really good year overall under Olivier Glasner. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, looking at the Premier League table, you've sort of seen there that, you know, Palace not really gonna probably be the favourites to finish in 8th place this year, so you're thinking that the FA Cup or winning the FA Cup is probably their only chance to qualify for Europe this year, realistically. Yes, they can still mathematically get into 8th, but they've got to rely on Brentford dropping points, Brighton dropping points, Bournemouth dropping points, Fulham still dropping points, because Fulham are still in it as well. And I feel like it's one of them situations where I think Palace would rely more on putting their eggs in the basket of winning the FA Cup over putting the eggs in the basket of trying to get to 8th place, because I think there's too much in the way of Crystal Palace to get to 8th place. I'd rather them win the FA Cup and put everything into winning that trophy rather than just trying to put everything into finishing 8th and just scrap the final off. So Palace, for me, have got a really simple task. Win the FA Cup and they're in Europe. And they also, from a rivalry perspective, get to shut out Brentford, they get to shut out Fulham, that's 2 London clubs, over Palace, and they also get to shut out their rivals Brighton. If you're wondering why Palace and Brighton are rivals, I'll probably do a separate video on that. Now, what about the team that's come from nowhere to potentially get a trophy at the end of this season as to what's been a poor season by their standards? Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. Man City are aiming for their 8th FA Cup title, having last won the competition back in 2023. It does feel like forever to some fans. Despite a season that saw them slip in the Premier League table and exit early from the Champions League, a victory in the FA Cup will provide some kind of a silver lining. As Erling Haaland would say, stay humble, eh? They battered Salford City 8-0 in the 3rd round before a 4th round victory away from home 2-1 at Leyton Orient. By the way, congratulations to Richie Wellens and his team for making the League One playoff final. Big up yourselves. You meant that badge to you. They overcame Plymouth Argyle 3-1 in the 5th round before triumphing over Bournemouth 2-1 in the quarterfinals before a 2-0 victory against Nottingham Forest in the semi-finals. City suffered a 0-0 draw with Southampton recently, which highlights some inconsistency within City's team, but key players like Kevin De Bruyne are expected to play pivotal roles in getting City over the line in this cup final. Now, part of City's form heading into this final was actually a league match against Crystal Palace. What was the scoreline? City 5, Palace 2. Either Palace are going to get some revenge, or City are going to prove once again why they can still pick up a trophy despite a drab season by their standards. There is no denying that Manchester City should be doing better this season. However, I do think that Manchester City will come again next season regardless. They're going to go after the Premier League, they're going to go after the Champions League, they're going to go after the FA Cup again, even if they don't win it this year, and they've got the players to do it. They're also going to invest in the squad necessary to win multiple trophies next season. City will come again. City will still be in that mix, and I do strongly feel that Pep Guardiola is nowhere near done at the Etihad Stadium, and none of these players are either. I think some of these players, if not most of these players, will be fired up for this final. They will absolutely be up for it, and they'll also be up for next season to win trophy after trophy after trophy. Whether they do it or not is another story, but at least they are determined. While Manchester City enter the final as the favourite, Crystal Palace's recent form and momentum cannot be overlooked. With both teams having so much at stake, City seeking to end the season with silverware and Palace aiming for their first major trophy, the final is poised to be a thrilling contest. Not sure how this one's going to go, because what you've got here, it's not like Manchester City versus Watford all over again. It's not a repeat of that whatsoever. You've got a Crystal Palace team here that are firing and are looking for a strong finish in the Premier League this season. And not only that, they could be about to pick up their first trophy in so many years. For the majority of these fans, pretty much all these fans, in fact, no, all of these fans, in all these fans' lives, they've not seen a major trophy, or they've rarely seen a major trophy in the trophy cabinet of Crystal Palace. They've had to go back and watch old clips, black and white clips, of the last time Palace won a major trophy. So this is huge for the Eagles, absolutely huge. And this again highlights why bringing in Glasner was the right decision by the club. Olivier Glasner was the right manager for Crystal Palace. He was someone that I would have preferred if I was an Arsenal fan or a Tottenham fan when Emery got sacked, when Mourinho got sacked, even when other managers like Conte got sacked from Spurs. He was the man that I would have liked to have seen come into a club like an Arsenal, like a Tottenham, especially with what he did at Eintracht Frankfurt. I think he laid the foundation and really built up that side, and it gained him that reputation. And Palace picking up Glasner first as a trophy winner, a previous trophy winning manager in Germany, proves exactly the ambitions for Crystal Palace and proves they've learned their lessons from seasons before. But there is absolutely no denying they're coming up against a Manchester City determined to get a piece of silverware at the end of an average season. Of course, I'm not going with City. I'm going with an underdog victory for Crystal Palace. I'm going to go with a Crystal Palace win, 2-1 against Man City, and I think Palace will be celebrating in Wembley Stadium. Come to an I am the CHALL. Ta-ra for now. I love the beautiful game.